Welcome back to Mission Success Women in Multifamily, the show where we celebrate inspiring women driving real change in the multifamily industry. I'm Laura Valean, senior editor with Multi Housing News, and you're listening to the November episode of the series. Today, I'm joined by someone whose leadership and determination have been pivotal in driving major wins in real estate, even when the market stood still. Jacqueline Kluger, Senior Vice President of Portfolio Management at Post Brothers, is a strategist, a relationship builder, and a rising leader, redefining what it means to lead with impact in this industry. Welcome, Jackie. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. What first drew you to real estate? Did you choose this career? Did it choose you? Tell me a bit about your background and those early years in the field.
Sure. So I think it was a bit of a combination. I actually went to school for hospitality management. I worked for Marriott for a number of years. And while I was working for Marriott out of school, I realized I didn't actually want to be in the management side. I really wanted to be on the ownership side.
Mhm.
To do that, I went back to school, got my MBA, and while I was there, started exploring more avenues. Hotels are particularly, or can be a particularly challenging asset class. Um, your renter turns over every day as opposed to
Right.
multifamily that's every year. So while I was in school, I started learning more about the multifamily side, about retail, office, and um, I was drawn to real estate more as a whole, not specifically hotels through that process. Um, Finished my MBA, moved back home to the East Coast, and started my real estate career there.
And then in 2018, you joined Post Brother. And has there been a defining moment since then? Something that really shaped your trajectory within the company?
Um, Probably about a year or so into working for Post, a colleague of mine was going out on leave, and
Hmm.
I was taking over what she was working on, which should have been just fairly easy, just finishing some deals that she had started, just getting them over the finish line. And
Hmm.
it, it felt like immediately after she went out, a big deal completely fell apart. And while I can't take credit for totally fixing it, I really jumped in and was able to add a lot of value. And I think there was a new level of trust coming out of that um, within the company, that I could be thrown into a situation and react just fine. And from there, I started taking on more responsibility. And I feel like my time at Post, that was sort of the kickoff to being trusted with a lot more with the company.
And now you're being described as the quarterback within Post Brothers. You're leading major transactions, you're coordinating across teams. Can you walk us through what this role really looks like on a daily basis?
So it's hard to give you a daily basis since every day is different. I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Sure,
Um,
sure. But
so
it makes
being the
sense considering how many things you're doing. So, yeah.
so my role's somewhat unique, and I think it's the most interesting at Post because I really get to interact across all disciplines. We're completely vertically integrated, so we're building apartment buildings. We're our own general contractor. We have our own property management arm, and I get to really work throughout those disciplines. So I get to be engaged with the property management team, the marketing team, the construction team. Um, and then at the heart of it, I'm moving transactions forward. So I
Mhm.
get a little taste of everything, and really get to work with the team as a whole, which I think is unique and keeps things interesting.
And you've actually pushed major deals forward. You told me about that episode, but that's not singular, I'm sure. Even when the market was slowing down, is there anything that gives you that confidence to move ahead when others might be hesitant?
So we've definitely done a number of transactions over the past few years, especially when um, there was just very few happening.
Hmm.
And I think part of it is that I'm really fortunate to be working for a company that builds really incredible properties. It's easy to be passionate about something that's um, so beautiful and aspirational and truly where people want to live. So you can approach your job with a lot more passion than just, this is functional and it should be financed. It's easy to get excited about it. The other thing is, at times deals just have to get done. You're up against a maturity deadline and you need to refinance it. You might get creative. You might have to bring in additional equity, and that's never ideal. But it can be done, and you can continue to move a property and a project forward.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about leadership, because you lead teams. How would you describe your leadership style when it comes to guiding those teams and managing relationships with lenders and investors and everyone else you interact with?
I think it's all about communicating and connecting. I try to, with the teams I work with, I try to be open and honest, giving direct feedback, and whether that's internal or external, I think being open, honest, and communicative is important. And then also building relationships. It shouldn't be strictly transactional. I think at the end of the day, people like to work and do business with people they enjoy interacting with. So making those connections on more of a personal level and not strictly business all the time has been really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm. And not just with investors and lenders, with everyone, I guess communication is everything, as you said earlier. How do you build and maintain that trust and transparency, especially in times of market uncertainty, or when things are in that pink, let's say?
I think being honest and open is important. I'm not going to present something that's entirely doom and gloom. I think there's often some positives, so it's okay to lead with those positives, but not to bury your head or just hide what's really happening is important. When Philadelphia experienced a supply surge, we needed to communicate that to our investors. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. This supply is about to fall off a cliff, or new supply is about to fall off a cliff. There's the demand is there. It's just taking a little while to be absorbed. So occupancy might dip, but this is temporary. So communicating that to investors, to lenders is important, rather than just pretending it's not happening.
Right. You're making your mark in this industry that's still largely male dominated. I'm not sure how many men, how many women you have in your team, but I imagine there are more men than women. What has helped you establish your voice and authority early on or throughout these years?
I think it goes back to the communication and connecting, being able to interact with men and women alike. I think that it's easy for them. They can interact with one another, and it's easy to connect on sports or what have you. And they don't necessarily, because it's so male dominated, they don't necessarily need to find female interests per se and connect that way. So it's really on a female to be able to interact with a guy and talk about something that they're probably interested in, and not say men, let's strictly talk about fashion. They're probably not into that.
Yeah.
But to be able to connect with a man on something that they're interested in, and then turn around and have a connection with a female on something they're interested in, and it's not just men and women. It's, your interests are different than mine, and there's always common ground you can find. So to be able to make meaningful connections, I think is important.
Speaking of connections, have you had any role models, any mentors that have helped you throughout the years, or have shaped your leadership journey? Do you find yourself mentoring others right now?
So I've had a number of mentors over the years, both formal mentors and informal. And I think they've all had a different hand in sort of guiding how I've progressed in my career. When I was in business school trying to figure out how I make that transition into real estate, I had this one mentor that was through an organized mentorship program. And he was a retired hotel guy. And he put so much effort into growing me and connecting me with his vast network. And he was very well respected. And all of the people he connected me with, they were willing to connect me with their friends and colleagues. And it really shaped how my career has transpired. And while I know that I have not been as good of a mentor as others as he's been to me, I certainly try. And it takes moments to connect someone,
Right.
and so I think it's important to do it when you can.
For women who want to grow in real estate, especially into leadership or finance or development roles, what's one piece of advice you'd like to share?
Nothing is beneath you. It doesn't matter if you think that that's an analyst's role, or if you think that that's the asset managers should do that and not you. If it needs to get done and you're capable of doing it, just do it. You become more well-rounded that way, and other people realize that you can be relied upon.
Mm-hmm. Overall, this industry can be incredibly demanding, and you've told me you have multiple roles, multiple interactions. I can only imagine how busy your work day is. How do you balance that professional intensity with your personal life and your personal well-being?
So I actually recently started doing Pilates.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an hour of my morning where I cannot think about work. I am so focused on how I'm contorting my body and trying to follow along with the instructor that it's a true mental escape that I think makes me better throughout the day. And then just having other interests outside of work and making personal connections in and outside of work, I think is really gives me the flexibility to be high intensity at work. And if you ask my husband, I'm probably not low intensity at home. But having those releases is helpful.
Okay. And besides Pilates, is there anything else you're doing that helps you stay grounded or recharge when things get hectic?
That's a good question. I try to find time to be with loved ones, with friends, with family. I'm fortunate enough to be in Philadelphia, which is a great food city, trying new restaurants, just doing things that are not 100% work all the time. I find is a nice break.
I'm switching back to work-related things, I guess. How do you personally define success? Has this definition changed as your career has evolved?
I think high level success is achieving your goals um, and beyond. I think early in my career, I thought of success as being much more personal financial success. And I think that has, it's now a bit more well-rounded. My view on success has become a bit more well-rounded. It's feeling fulfilled. It's moving, it's not just my own personal goals, but it's moving a whole team forward. It's
Right.
Success is when you capitalize that next project. There's so many more people relying on you to get that done. You need properties for the construction team to develop, for the property management team to operate. So I think it's a more holistic approach these days and less personal success.
I think that comes with, I don't know, age, and as we mature, we think about things more holistically and not just financial. Looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of multifamily real estate? And On the flip side, is there anything that worries you, that keeps you up at night?
So people always need a place to live. Their multifamily is not going away. I think there's a lot of future opportunities. We're still short on housing throughout the country. We need more of it. So I think there's a lot of runway for multifamily. It's seen a lot of success for a long period of time, and I think that's only going to continue. Interest rates make me nervous, but they're coming back down. It's easier to transact again. There were times where the capital just wasn't really moving, and now we're seeing that again. So while there's plenty to keep me up at night, I think the overall picture is positive, and I'm not worried.
That positivity helps, definitely. Finally, if you could leave our listeners with one key mindset or lesson, something, I don't know, you wish more young professional understood, what would it be?
Whatever you think your path is doesn't mean it has to be that way. I had a very specific goal of running hotels, and then I quickly realized I didn't want to do it, and that's okay. I think it's okay to pivot. It's okay to have multiple career paths, and it's interesting to learn new things. So be open to different opportunities that come, and see what's out there.
Jacqueline, this has been such a thoughtful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights. I think you truly embody that mix of discipline and heart that this industry needs more of.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you all for tuning in to Mission Success Women in Multifamily. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to hear more inspiring stories from leaders across the multifamily world, follow MHN's The Lease Up on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you like to listen. The Lease Up brings together all of MHN's podcast series. So by following that page, you'll always be in the loop when a new episode drops. And of course, you can stay connected with us anytime at multihousingnews.com for the daily news, insightful interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Till next month.